Caleb Wright was squatting in front of a food cart, counting out loose change when a shadow fell over him. He looked up and gazed straight into Lily Sterling's smiling, almond-shaped eyes. Lily held a warm, soft pretzel in her fingertips and extended it toward him. "Caleb, this is for you." Caleb's instinct was to refuse. "No, I couldn't. Just let me treat you." Lily practically forced the pretzel into his hand. His fingers inadvertently brushed against her palm. It was soft. Caleb stared at her pristine sneakers and her stylish coat, mumbling to himself, "That outfit suits her perfectly. How does someone make everything look so good?" While he was lost in thought, she suddenly stood on tiptoes and brushed a fallen leaf off his shoulder, her voice soft as cotton candy. "Eat it while it's hot. It won't taste good if it gets cold." The setting sun cast a golden glow over Lily. Caleb took a bite of the pretzel. The salty dough somehow tasted inexplicably sweet. He looked at this girl who seemed to glow from within. Such a beautiful girl, and she's so good to me. If only I could marry her someday. The winter of their sophomore year was cold enough to freeze bone. Amidst the morning murmurs of homeroom study, Caleb's sneezes erupted one after another. The tip of his nose was red as a ripe cherry, yet he grinned and joked with the students around him. "This wind is trying to drill right into my bones. Any longer, and I think I'll be the first guy in class to turn into an ice sculpture." The front row burst into laughter, and he joined in, his eyes crinkling with a carefree warmth. The next morning, just as the sky was turning a pale gray, Caleb rushed into the classroom at the first bell. He dropped into his seat and reached into his desk for his textbooks out of habit, but his fingers brushed against something soft and warm. He paused, pulled it out, and saw a gray scarf. The knitting wasn't perfectly even, and there were a few frizzy loose ends, but it was undeniably thick and heavy, feeling like a portable heater in his hands. "It's just leftover yarn from a sweater my mom made. She just threw it together. Wear it if you don't mind it." Lily's voice was as low as a mosquito's hum. Her head was buried so low it almost touched her textbook, her eyes glued to the page, but her ears were red. Even the few stray hairs curling up seemed to catch the morning light, looking impossibly soft. Caleb squeezed the scarf, the dense warmth instantly wrapping around his frozen fingers. Leaning in, he caught a faint, clean scent like cotton dried in the winter sun. His heart turned into absolute mush. Yet, he kept his usual easygoing smile. "It fits perfectly. Thanks, Lily. Your mom has great skills. This is warmer than my own winter coat." Lily didn't look up, just gave a soft, but her fingers secretly tightened around her book, and the corner of her mouth hit a smile she didn't even notice. Junior year brought the divide between AP tracks, but they both chose STEM and, as if by fate, remained desk mates. Caleb was a chosen one for math and physics, solving equations with lightning speed, yet he crashed and burned in English, tormented by essay structures and grammar, until he questioned his existence. Lily didn't say a word. She simply carved out 30 minutes every evening study hall, immovable as a mountain, to drag him through grammar drills. Her notebook was a standard grid pad, the paper thick and smooth, her ink vivid and clean without a single smudge. Under the dim library lights, her voice was as gentle as a feather, brushing past his ear. When her finger traced a key point, it would occasionally graze the back of his hand. Both would recoil instantly, then pretend nothing happened and continue, cheeks hot enough to fry an egg. Caleb maintained his easygoing facade, listening patiently, occasionally cracking a joke to ease the awkwardness, but his gaze couldn't help but stick to her focused profile, his heart brimming with sweetness. When she moved stacks of reference books, he would rush to shoulder the heavy load, laughing as he nudged her aside. I got it. With that small frame of yours, don't hurt your back." When she was stumped by a calculus problem, frowning and biting her pen cap, he would grab scratch paper and derive it step by step, his pen tapping rhythmically. His tone was gentle with a hint of teasing. "See, just take a turn here and it opens up. Our Lily is so smart. She'll get it in no time." He loved seeing her look of sudden realization, the sunlight filtering through the window on her eyebrows, fine and soft like new growth, her eyes sparkling like a kid with candy. It made his heart skip a beat every time. During breaks, they would walk the track together. Caleb deliberately walked on the outside, slowing his pace to match hers, chattering away about funny things in class just to see her eyes curve into crescents. Lily's sneakers were a common brand, yet always spotless. No matter how much she ran or jumped, they never lost their shape, revealing a delicate attentiveness. The afternoon sun was blinding, and she raised a hand to shield her brow, her slender fingers glowing a faint pink. Light dappled through her hair onto her neck, fragmented and tender. Caleb's gaze was glued to her, watching her sun-flushed cheeks, watching the light dance in her hair. His heart pounded like he was carrying a frightened rabbit, but he could only feign calm, looking away and talking louder about other things to hide his panic. At the senior graduation dinner, inside a noisy private room at a diner, someone suddenly started jeering, asking if Lily was actually loaded, claiming they'd seen a black town car waiting for her at the school gates multiple times. Lily's face went slightly pale. Just as she was about to explain, Caleb had already stood up, his tone maintaining that protective warmth, yet carrying an unquestionable firmness. Don't guess blindly. Lily's family is just regular working class. That was her dad's company car, picking her up on the way. She keeps a low profile, so let's not spread rumors and make things awkward for her. The jeering in the room instantly died down. Lily looked up at him, her eyes reddening. She had hidden this secret for 3 years, terrified that reality would shatter their pure bond. But Caleb's defense, free of any impurity, felt like that winter scarf, warming her to the point of tears. When the party broke up, Caleb walked her to the street corner. The streetlights were yellow and dim, illuminating them both. The night breeze lifted the ends of her hair, strands clinging to her cheek, and moonlight fell on her brow, impossibly soft. Not far away, a black sedan waited silently. The driver stood respectfully by the door, not approaching. Caleb scratched his head, his usual casual vibe diminished, his tone carrying a hint of shyness, but his eyes holding the unique honesty and heat of youth. He wrapped himself in his customary gentleness. Lily Sterling, remember to keep in touch in college. And I really like you. Not the desk mate kind of like. The kind where I want to be good to you for the rest of my life. Lily's heart skipped a beat. She looked up into the starlight in his eyes, a tenderness and heat that belonged only to her. She bit her lip, eyes brimming, 1,000 words stuck in her throat, finally melting into a soft, choked-back response. Me too, on this star-studded night. She wanted to keep this innocent, pure affection forever in her heart, beside this boy who was always gentle and kept her safe. On the day SAT scores and college acceptances dropped, Caleb was in an internet cafe, refreshing his browser. He'd gotten into UMass with a solid scholarship. Based on his track record, it was a fantastic result. He nearly jumped out of his chair and immediately pulled out his phone to call Lily. The phone rang several times before picking up. Lily's voice was raspy, not bright like usual. Caleb, Lily, I got into UMass. How about you? His excitement couldn't be hidden. What about you? Our grades are usually similar. You did well too, right? Silence stretched on the other end, the sound of wind faintly audible. Caleb's smile faded slightly. He pressed. What's wrong? Did you not get in? It's okay, we can. No, Lily interrupted, her voice light as a sigh. Caleb, I'm going abroad. My dad arranged it a long time ago. I'm going to London. Caleb's phone nearly slipped from his hand. The noise of the internet cafe instantly felt miles away. For a long time before finding his voice. It carried his usual gentleness, but that was hard to miss. Going abroad. That's great. London is good. Great education. I'm sorry. Lily's voice trembled with tears. I never told you. My dad wouldn't agree to me staying local. It has nothing to do with you. Caleb interrupted quickly, afraid she would feel guilty, forcing his tone to be light. It's a good thing. Seeing the world. That's great. When do you leave? In the next month. Can we see each other one more time? Another silence, then a soft. They agreed to meet at the coffee shop next to the school, the one they frequented senior year. Lily wore a simple white dress and sat by the window. Sunlight caught the ends of her hair, just like countless morning study halls before. But the emotion in her eyes was far more complex than before. Caleb handed over a latte, her favorite order. You won't get one this authentic overseas. Lily took it, her fingertips cold, and looked down, stirring the foam. Be good in college. Remember to eat on time. Don't stay up all night gaming. I know. You too. Being abroad isn't like being home. Take care of yourself. Caleb smiled as he said it, but his heart felt blocked. That phrase, I still want to be good to you, suddenly couldn't be spoken in the face of separation. He didn't ask why she was suddenly going abroad, didn't ask if her family was really as rich as the rumors said. He just felt that the girl in front of him was still the desk mate who shoved a scarf in his hands and tutored him in English. When leaving, Lily took a small box from her bag and handed it to him. For you, graduation gift. Caleb opened it. Inside was a silver bookmark, the edges engraved with a faint pattern, very similar to the one that used to occasionally fall out of her pencil case. It's beautiful. Thanks. I'm going. Lily turned, not daring to linger, afraid that if she looked back she wouldn't be able to leave. Caleb stood there, watching her back disappear around the street corner, the bookmark cool in his hand. He didn't know that the moment Lily got into the black sedan waiting nearby, she shook with sobs. He didn't know that she had fought with her father countless times over this separation, but ultimately couldn't defy the family's arrangement. The AC in a coffee shop was a bit cold. Caleb gripped the bookmark tight, silently chanting in his heart, Lily Sterling's travels. The morning mist hadn't yet cleared. Caleb was tying on a flour-dusted apron, bending over to bring a tray of freshly baked savory hand pies out to the counter. His hair was messy from sleep, sleeves rolled up to his forearms revealing skin specked with oil, his face showing the fatigue of staying up late kneading dough. After college, he had sent out tons of resumes, but reality won in the end. He eventually joined his parents to convert their old house into a bakery, sticking to this humble, smoky life. "Boss, 2 meat pies," as the regular customer shouted. A clear, unfamiliar female voice followed, carrying a familiar softness. "Caleb." When Caleb looked up, the tray cloth nearly slipped from his hand. The woman standing at the door wore a tailored beige business suit that accentuated her tall, upright posture. Her long hair was pinned in a sharp bun, revealing a slender, pale neck. A small diamond stud in her earlobe glinted in the morning light, and the watch on her wrist was simple but radiated indescribable quality. Her face hadn't changed. Her features were still exquisite, but the teenage rawness was gone, replaced by a calm nobility. It was Lily Sterling, the person he thought he'd never see again. In contrast, looking at himself, an apron stained with flour, a washed-out t-shirt, grease spots on his pant legs, standing next to her, they looked like people from 2 different worlds. "It really is you." Lily walked in quickly, her tone full of excitement. Her gaze swept over the small but clean shop, finally landing on his face. "I've been looking for you for so long. I finally found you." Caleb's throat tightened. He instinctively shrank back, wanting to hide behind the steamer racks, his voice dry. "How? Why are you here?" "To see you, of course." Lily smiled, her eyes holding the same starlight as years ago. "We lost touch after high school. I asked so many people before I found out you opened this shop." The customers looked curiously at this mismatched pair. Caleb's cheeks burned. He quickly guided her to a corner. "Sit. I'll pour you some water." "Don't trouble yourself." Lily grabbed him, her fingers touching the back of his rough hand before quickly letting go. "I just want to see you. How had you been all these years?" "Just like this. Watching the shop. It's fine." Caleb avoided her gaze, looking down at his flour-coated hands. "And you? Looking like you're doing well." "It's okay. I finished my master's abroad and came back to help with the family business." Lily's tone was relaxed, but she couldn't hide the aura of sophistication around her. "Actually, after I went abroad, I always wanted to contact you. But my dad took my phone and later I changed numbers and we completely lost touch." She paused, her eyes turning serious. "Caleb, back in high school, I didn't get to say it clearly. I liked you. Not the desk mate, kind of like. I really wanted to be with you forever." The sentence hit Caleb like a heavy hammer. Memories flooded back, the gray scarf, the neat notes, the coffee shop farewell, the cool silver bookmark. But these beautiful things looked exceptionally pale in the face of the gap between them now. He looked up sharply, his eyes resolute, tone trying to be peaceful and retaining that old gentleness, but with a new layer of distance. "Lily, don't joke around." "I'm not joking." Lily got anxious, stepping forward to get closer. "I know there's a big gap now, but I don't care." I care." Caleb interrupted, his voice rasping. "Lily Sterling, you are now the high and mighty CEO. I'm just a guy selling meat pies. We haven't been in the same world for a long time. Not before, and definitely not now." He pointed at his apron. "Look at me now. I don't deserve you. I never thought you didn't deserve me." Lily's eyes reddened. "I liked you back then because you were gentle and sincere. You still like that now." "That's enough." "It's not enough." Caleb shook his head, taking a step back to create distance. "I want 2 people walking side by side, not one in the sky and one in the mud. Your world is too brilliant. I can't fit in, and I don't want to hold you back." He took a deep breath, trying to make his voice sound calm. "I wish you all the best." With that, he turned and walked toward the ovens, not daring to look at Lily's eyes again. The footsteps behind him paused for a long time, followed by a soft sigh, then the sound of the door pushing open and fading away. Caleb stood frozen until the steam blurred his vision before he dared to wipe his face. The meat pies in the oven smelled delicious, but his heart felt blocked, panic rising like he'd swallowed raw dough, hard and astringent. He didn't know that Lily sat in the black sedan outside the shop, looking at the sign, crying for a long time. The driver handed her a tissue. "Miss, should we?" "No need." Lily wiped her tears, her eyes holding loss, but also a trace of unwillingness. "Let him cool down first." The steam in the bakery swirled. Caleb picked up a piece of dough and kneaded it forcefully, kneading all his emotions into the flour. The affection of their youth had finally lost to the reality of the gap between them, becoming a regret that could never be resumed. Ever since Lily's visit, Caleb's bakery seemed to hit the fast-forward button. At first, it was just a few well-dressed customers specifically asking for Boss Caleb's handmade pies. Then more and more people came. The line wrapped halfway down the block. People came in luxury cars, in suits, some even driving across town just for a taste of this authentic flavor. Caleb didn't overthink the reason for this sudden explosion of business, assuming it was just word of mouth. He gritted his teeth, used his savings and a low-interest loan that appeared out of nowhere, and expanded the bakery into a large restaurant named The Hearth. After the restaurant opened, it was packed daily. The supply chain and ingredients flowed smoothly, with vendors practically knocking down his door to collaborate. Caleb went from a grease-stained baker to a restaurant executive in a suit. In 1 year, he swapped his car, bought a house, and shed his former awkwardness for a calm competence. Looking at his revitalized reflection in the mirror, he finally felt he had the standing to stand before Lily Sterling. He carefully selected a bouquet of red roses and prepared a jade pendant carved with the word Lily. He'd visited several jewelers to find one that was warm and understated, just like her in high school. At dusk, he drove to the base of Lily's corporate tower. The skyscraper pierced the clouds, looking magnificent, a world away from the small alley where he once sold pies. Caleb stood outside the lobby holding the roses, his heart beating fast, imagining the reunion, the corners of his mouth lifting uncontrollably. The sunset reflected off the glass curtain wall, casting a long shadow of his upright figure. Just then, the revolving doors opened. A group of people swarmed out, surrounding two figures. The woman in front wore a champagne-colored gown, makeup exquisite. It was Lily. Beside her stood a man in a sharp suit, tall, with an air of nobility, leaning in to speak to her intimately. Lily smiled, eyes curving, raising a hand to brush a stray hair from her temple, a gesture natural and intimate. The bouquet of roses in Caleb's hand dropped to the ground with a smack, petals scattering, mixing with the roadside dust, looking pathetic. Lily hadn't lost the smile from her eyes when she caught a glimpse of the figure standing nearby. When she saw it was Caleb, her eyes instantly lit up like captured stars. She ran toward him, her tone full of joy. "Caleb, what are you doing here?" She looked him up and down in his sharp suit, then glanced at the scattered rose petals on the ground, laughing out loud. "Haven't seen you in a year, and you're a big boss now. Did you come specifically to find me? Brought flowers too." Shame they fell. Julian Thorne followed leisurely from behind, a polite smile on his face, though his gaze lingered on Caleb for a few seconds with imperceptible scrutiny. He extended a hand, his tone polite and proper. "Hello, I'm Julian Thorne, a friend of Lily's." Caleb paused, instinctively shaking the hand. The palm was cool, and they broke contact immediately. He felt uncomfortable all over. Lily turned to Julian, her tone light, but leaving no room for argument. "Julian, I'm really sorry. I can't join you for dinner tonight. I have to catch up with my old classmate." Julian's polite smile stiffened. A clear look of resentment flashed in his eyes as he looked deeply at Caleb, a look containing unwillingness and the frustration of being interrupted, yet he said nothing, just forcing the corners of his mouth up. "Fine, you two talk. I'll head out." He turned and walked away, his pace much faster than when he arrived, his back radiating irritation. Lily was oblivious. She turned to Caleb and blinked, bending down to pick up 2 petals that were still intact, handing them to him. "Pick them up. You bought them specifically, right? Why do they fall? Were you too nervous to see me?" The pleasant dinner with Lily ended, and Caleb walked her to the restaurant entrance. He watched her get into her car and leave. As he turned to go, a figure blocked his path. It was Julian Thorne. He was leaning against a black luxury car, a cigarette between his fingers, his expression much darker than it had been that afternoon. Seeing Caleb approach, he crushed the cigarette under his heel, his tone cold and hard. "Mister, right? Spare me a few minutes. I want to talk." Caleb frowned, knowing he couldn't dodge this. He nodded. "Okay." They walked into a quiet tea house nearby. The lighting in the private booth was dim. As soon as they sat, Julian dropped the politeness and went straight to the point. "Caleb, you don't actually think you deserve Lily, do you?" Caleb's hand tightened around his teacup. He didn't speak. You think the hearth took off, going from a pie shop to a major restaurant in a year, because of your skill? Julian sneered, his eyes full of mockery. I'm telling you, it was all Lily paving the road for you. She was afraid of hurting your pride, so she didn't help openly. She asked people to find you high-end clients, made her friends' companies book their events with you. Even that low-interest loan for your expansion, she begged people to push that through. The words struck Caleb like lightning. His face went pale, his fingers trembling slightly. The turn of luck he believed in, the business that went impossibly smooth, it was all her doing. Julian leaned forward, his gaze sharp as a knife, stabbing straight at him. You think putting on a suit and making a little money puts you on her level? Julian gently patted Caleb's arm. Stop dreaming. The difference between you and her isn't a restaurant. It's a class divide from birth. She drinks imported wine, goes to exclusive clubs. And you? You used to sell pies, and now you're just a nouveau riche who climbed up on a woman's back. He paused, adding more disdain to his tone. Lily and I are a match. We discuss multi-million-dollar deals, talk about the future of the industry. What can you talk to her about? How much flour costs per pound? How to steam a bun so it tastes good? Caleb looked up sharply, eyes red, voice containing suppressed anger. I love her. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Julian looked like he'd heard the world's biggest joke. Your so-called love is worthless in the face of reality. Lily helped you out of nostalgia for high school. You could push your luck and try to climb onto her. Julian's tone flattened out. If you really care about her, you should recognize your place. Stop pestering her. Don't lose your own dignity and make things awkward for her. Julian stood up, looking down at him. That's all I have to say. Look out for yourself. The booth door slammed shut, leaving Caleb sitting alone. The aroma of tea filled the room, but couldn't suppress the turmoil in his heart. The success he was proud of, the courage he had carefully built up, shattered completely under Julian's words and the naked truth. He picked up his teacup, finding his hand shaking uncontrollably. Scalding tea splashed onto his hand, but the pain was nothing compared to the sting in his heart. Business at the hearth remained explosive, but Caleb was distracted. He buried himself in complex accounting, deliberately avoiding any moment that might remind him of Lily. Yet those starry eyes kept intruding on his mind. One evening, just as the table cleared, a waiter suddenly reported, "Boss, a Miss Sterling is at the door looking for you. Says she's an old classmate." Caleb's pen froze. He looked up to see Lily standing at the entrance of the main hall, wearing a beige dress, the hem swaying gently with her steps, overlapping perfectly with the girl hiding in the sunlight back in high school. She walked straight toward him, face full of joyous smiles, but her tone held a hint of grievance. "Caleb, what's wrong with you? After dinner last time, why didn't you call me? Weren't you here specifically to give me flowers?" Caleb stood up, fingers instinctively gripping the hem of his jacket, throat tight, stammering, unable to form a complete sentence. The shop's been too busy lately, lots to handle, so." His eyes darted away, afraid to meet hers. The confidence crushed by Julian, along with his heart full of inferiority, was exposed. Lily's smile faded slightly. She stepped closer, eyes burning into him. "Stop lying to me. Did Julian come find you?" Caleb froze, looking up at her in surprise. "I knew it was him." Lily sighed softly, tone apologetic. "He's just like that, always meddling. Don't listen to his nonsense. He's just a partner in our family business. We're just ordinary friends." She reached out, gently taking his wrist. The warmth of her fingers traveled through the fabric, carrying a soothing power. "Caleb, have some confidence. You're doing so well now because of your own ability, not anyone's charity. I helped you back then just to save you some detours, not because I thought you couldn't do it." Caleb's eyes fell hot. He wanted to say, "I don't deserve you," but the words were blocked by the look in her eyes. Lily's cheeks reddened quietly. She lowered her voice, carrying a maiden-like shyness but abnormal firmness. "Actually, the person I've liked has always been you." Lily continued, face flushing. "All those years studying abroad, I thought about you every day. Thought about the hot pretzels you fed me. Thought about you helping me with math. Thought about your shyness when you looked at me. Thought about the light in your eyes when you said you liked me at graduation." She paused, looking up at him, eyes full of seriousness. "I never felt we were different, never cared about any family gap. To me, you're still that gentle, sincere Caleb who shared his food with me. That is enough." Caleb stood there, listening to her words. The inferiority and insecurity in his heart seemed to melt slowly in warm water. He looked at this girl who didn't hide her heart at all, looked at the firmness and tenderness in her eyes. The confidence shattered by Julian seemed to be piecing itself back together, bit by bit. Julian's words were like a stone on Caleb's heart, but Lily's honesty and firmness became the light that pride opened the gloom. He finally let go of all inferiority, reached out and hugged her, voice choked with the emotion of something lost and found. "Lily, I'm sorry I made you wait so long." From then on, the lights of the hearth cast two shadows side by side. Their paired figures were often seen in the city streets. They would stroll through bustling night markets. Lily, dressed in a casual hoodie and jeans, shed her sophistication, dragging Caleb by the hand through the stalls like any ordinary girl. She pointed at grilled noodles, eyes shining. Caleb waited in line, remembering she wanted extra vinegar, less spice. She got distracted by cheap trinkets. He waited patiently, paid silently, then clipped a small hairpin in her hair, smiling. "Looks great." They walked, eating street food, laughing amidst the noise, everything feeling incredibly real. They also planned trips. They went to Cape Cod, rented a scooter by the dunes. Caleb drove her slowly along the coast, the wind lifting her long hair to tangle around his arm. Stopping on the grass by the water, they lay side by side, watching the blue sky and clouds, listening to the wind in the beach grass. Lily rested her head on his arm. "People always say the Cape is romantic. Now I know, the romance isn't the place, it's the person beside you." Caleb turned to kiss her forehead. "I'll take you to more places in the future." Their love had no class barriers, only mutual cherishing. From the stolen glances in high school to the reunion across distance and reality. The time they missed became footnotes to their current togetherness, slowly paving the way to the most beautiful outcome amidst the smoke of cooking and romance. After the hearth closed for the night, just as the last light in the front hall went out, a convoy of black sedans drove up to the entrance, parking bumper to bumper. As the headlights died, the very air seemed to grow heavy. Two tall bodyguards in black suits got out first, respectfully opening the door of the Central Maybach. Arthur Sterling stepped out slowly, wearing a bespoke Italian suit without a single crease, a Patek Philippe watch gleaming understatedly in the night, his hair combed meticulously back. The wrinkles at the corners of his eyes held the authority of long-held power. Every step was steady and forceful, carrying an intimidating aura without anger. When Caleb received the alert from the staff, he was in the kitchen checking hygiene, flowers still on his fingers. His heart felt gripped by an invisible hand. He took a deep breath, straightened his shirt, and walked out quickly. The front hall had been temporarily cleared by the bodyguards, leaving only one wall sconce on. The dim light fell on Arthur Sterling, emphasizing his oppressive presence. He didn't sit. He stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, back to Caleb, looking at the city nightscape. His voice wasn't loud, but it had a penetrating pressure. "Caleb Wright, Mr. Sterling." Caleb stopped, maintaining a polite distance. Arthur turned slowly. His gaze was like a precision instrument, sweeping Caleb from head to toe, from the flower trace on his cuff to his slight awkward stance. A trace of imperceptible contempt flashed in his eyes. He didn't say much, just raised a hand to signal the assistant behind him. The assistant stepped forward, opened a leather briefcase, and took out a gold embossed checkbook and a fountain pen, handing them smoothly to Arthur. Arthur took the pen, his grip elegant. He didn't even look at Caleb, just lowered his head and wrote a string of numbers on the check with a flourish. The sound of the nib scratching the paper was exceptionally clear in the silent hall. "This money is enough for you to live comfortably in any city for the rest of your life. There is only one condition: disappear. Never appear in front of Lily again." Arthur placed the check on the marble counter nearby and slid it over, his voice cold as ice. The string of numbers stung Caleb's eyes. He looked at the flimsy check, but felt it weighed 1,000 pounds. This wasn't just money. It was a trampling of his feelings for Lily and a negation of him as a person. "Mr. Sterling, Lily and I truly love each other. I can't take the money." Caleb clenched his fists, voice trembling but insistent. "Truly?" Arthur finally looked him in the eye, mouth curving in mockery. "Young man, don't treat sincerity as something precious. Lily grew up learning how to manage a company, how to deal with big shots in every industry. Her world is full of rules you've never heard of, never seen. And you? Every day you worry about how to steam buns, how the restaurant makes money. I'm not saying that's bad, but your lives simply cannot fit together." He stepped forward, his powerful aura almost suffocating Caleb. "You think opening a restaurant makes you special? The height you might reach in your entire life might not even touch where Lily started." Arthur's assistant timely handed over a file. Arthur didn't open it, just spoke faintly. "I've cleared your background long ago. From the alley you lived in as a kid, to your parents' jobs, to exactly where every cent for your restaurant came from. I know it all. There was no thread in the words, but they cut deeper than any sharp insult. Caleb felt cold all over. He knew Arthur was telling the truth. It was a difference rooted deep from childhood, something hard work couldn't bridge. I'm not trying to climb up the Sterling family. I just want to be with her. Caleb's voice held a plea, but it sounded exceptionally pale. Be with her? Arthur scoffed, the contempt in his eyes turning to deep indifference. How? When she goes to important galas, can you chat with those tycoons? When she takes over the family burden and is under massive pressure, can you provide equal support? You can't. All you can do is cook her a meal, say a few comforting words. She could get those things from anyone. It's not what she actually needs. He stopped smiling, tone undeniable. Lily is the hope of the Sterling family. Her life has a direction set long ago. It cannot be derailed because of you. Arthur paused, eyes landing on Caleb's pale face, every word in execution. If you truly want what's best for her, don't hold her back. This check isn't charity. It's giving you a way out. Arthur gave him one last look. No hate, no anger, just an indifference that saw through everything. Take the money. Find a place to live a quiet life. Arthur finished and turned to leave without another glance. The assistant packed the checkbook, followed him, and the bodyguards fell in line. The sound of their footsteps leaving was like a heavy hammer on Caleb's heart. Caleb was left alone in the hall. The wall lamp was dim, casting a lonely shadow. He looked at the check, remembering Lily smiling and saying, I like you. Tears finally surged. Arthur's words were like dull knives, cutting him to pieces. He had to admit, the gap between them was never money or status, but the environment of their growth, their vision, the differences carved into their bones. He could ignore others' opinions, but he couldn't ignore the pain Lily would have to endure, nor could he let her give up a brilliant life because of him. That night, Caleb stood in the empty hall until dawn. At daybreak, he picked up the check, tore it to shreds, and silently began the paperwork to transfer the restaurant. He didn't tell Lily. He just left one line in a message. Lily, wherever the road takes you, be well. On the train, leaving the city, Caleb looked at the flying scenery, face covered in tears. He knew he lost not only his lover, but the self who was brave enough to love regardless of everything. And Arthur Sterling's penetrating clarity and condescending indifference became a chasm he could never cross in this life. 10 years later, on a warm weekend afternoon, Caleb held his daughter's hand, his wife beside him. The family of 3 strolled slowly down a pedestrian street. Under the eaves of a large flat-roofed building, a massive screen played local news. Walking beneath it, his daughter suddenly pointed. Daddy, look at that lady. Caleb looked up. The woman on the screen made him pause instantly. It was Lily Sterling. Around 40 now, she had shed her youth for a sharp dark suit, hair in a low bun, eyes holding the calm capability of a veteran business leader. On screen, she was being interviewed, the caption clearly reading famous entrepreneur Lily Sterling. The reporter smiled and asked, Ms. Sterling, you've been single all these years. The public is curious. Have you ever had a special someone? Lily on the screen heard this. Her composure faded slightly, a trace of imperceptible loneliness crossing her eyes. After a few seconds of silence, her voice was soft but clear. There was once someone I liked very much. He was gentle, kind of everyone. It's just, he was too cowardly. A simple sentence, like a needle, caught Caleb off guard and pierced his heart. He stood there, staring at the woman on the screen with complicated eyes, fingers tightening unconsciously. His wife noticed his odd behavior, nudging his arm and laughing. What are you looking at so intently? That's the richest woman in the city, a real iron lady. 40 and hasn't started a family. She really put her heart into her career. Caleb snapped back to reality, throat bobbing. He gave a sheepish smile. Nothing, just felt. I almost became her husband back then. His wife couldn't help laughing, smacking him lightly. Stop dreaming. Look at her status, then look at yours. Don't talk nonsense in front of the kid. Let's go buy that roast duck you like. His wife pulled their daughter forward, chattering about daily life. Caleb followed, glancing back at the screen one last time. Lily's interview continued, but he didn't have the heart to listen. The word cowardly echoed in his ears. He couldn't say what the flavor in his heart was. Wistfulness, regret, and an unspeakable bitterness. Was letting go back then cowardice, or forced by reality? Perhaps even he couldn't tell anymore. The sun remained warm, the street full of people. Caleb gripped his wife's hand, speeding up to catch up with his family. Lily on the screen, and that dusty past, finally became a distant scenery in his life. Maybe this is the ending in a realistic story. But a novel is ultimately a novel. Can we idealize this story? 11 years later, on a warm weekend afternoon, sunlight paved the pedestrian street. Caleb held his daughter's small hand, his smiling wife beside him. The family of three strolled slowly. A massive screen on the exterior wall of a building played a local financial interview. "Mommy, Daddy, look at that lady. She looks just like Mommy," the daughter suddenly shouted, pointing at the screen. The family stopped to look. The woman being interviewed was Lily Sterling, 40 years old, wearing a simple, elegant beige suit. Her brows held the competence of the business world, but hid the tenderness settled by time. The caption read, "Famous entrepreneur Lily Sterling." She handled the reporter's questions with ease. The reporter turned the conversation, joking, "Ms. Sterling, there are rumors online that you've been secretly married with a daughter for years. Is this true?" Lily on the screen laughed, eyes curving into a beautiful arc, tone light, but with a hint of mischief. "The rumors aren't entirely wrong, but that's my little privacy. Not convenient to reveal too much." Good-natured laughter rippled through the audience. The interview continued, but Caleb turned to look at the Lily standing beside him, eyes full of laughter. "Not bad, CEO Sterling. When did you sneak off to record an interview? I didn't even know." Lily linked arms with him, her smile gentle with a touch of pride. "It's a secret." The daughter beside them hugged Lily's leg, looking up. "Mommy, what are you saying on TV?" Lily bent down to pick up her daughter, kissing her cheek. "I'm talking about work with the uncles and aunties." Caleb watched his wife and daughter, his heart filled with solid warmth. Years ago, after he left, Lily didn't give up. She withstood the pressure from her father, Arthur, and found Caleb. And Caleb, in the end, didn't give up on his feelings for Lily. They were determined to be together. Arthur couldn't beat his daughter's stubbornness. Seeing their determination, plus the birth of his granddaughter later, he finally acquiesced to the marriage, only asking them to keep a low profile and maintain Lily's single image publicly. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows. The street was bustling with life. Caleb held Lily's hand tighter, and the family of three slowly merged into the lively crowd. The interview on the screen continued, but their happiness had long since taken root in the years, warm and long.